Welcome to It's Okay to Not Be Okay, Navigating Discomfort. My name is Jamie Smith, and I am a prevention educator for the Alcohol and Drug Abuse Council of Delaware County. Thank you for joining me as we journey through navigating discomfort. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger for us. There we go. So it's okay to not be okay, navigating discomfort. A few things that I hope that you take away from this presentation are some practical skills that you can use when you are faced with discomfort. And also figuring out what does discomfort look like in your life and how are you currently handling that discomfort. So let's get into the presentation. Okay, so excuse a little bit of the language here, but public speaker Mel Robbins had posted this probably about 2 months ago, and it really resonated with me. And she says, it's not just you, no one knows what the hell they're doing. And I don't know, my first instinct with that was like a sigh of relief, like, okay, it's not just me, it's not just my family, it's not just my coworkers. It's like, really, we have never been here before, and we really do not know what we are doing. And that kind of gave me a mixed feeling. It gave me some comfort, right? Because we feel like we're supposed to know what we're doing. And the reality, this truth bomb is we really don't. But then it also gave me discomfort. Because we are looking for answers. We are looking to someone who has all of the answers, and no one really does right now. We are truly all on this journey together to changing the patterns that we have established in our lives for so long. We're looking on how can we change. We need to change these patterns because they don't exist anymore, and that's really uncomfortable. And how do we do that? So I just really wanted to set the stage with this quote because it's a big truth bomb that I think we all need to hear, but it also gives us a lot of discomfort. And the first thing I'd like to do with this presentation is let's define discomfort. So discomfort is to disturb the comfort or happiness of, or to make uncomfortable or uneasy. And let's face it, we've all heard the phrase, just be happy, right? I want you to just be happy. We've all kind of bought this lie that we are supposed to always be happy. And that is just not reality. We cannot sustain that. Happiness is a feeling, it's a moment in time, and we embrace that. But there's another side that we don't talk about, and that's discomfort and the uneasy times. And believe it or not, they actually serve a purpose. And I want you to just take a minute and think to yourself, which state am I in? Am I in a reactive state when it comes to being uncomfortable? Am I fighting the uncomfortable? Am I avoiding a situation? Am I blaming others? Am I projecting my fear onto others? Am I in this truly fight mode, right? When we have uncomfortable things come at us, we instantly want to protect ourselves, right? So are we more in that reactive state, or are you on the flip side and you're in a more receptive state, which means that you're facing the uncomfortable times. You're becoming comfortable with the uncomfortable. Now, I would guess that most of us tend to be more reactive. We're more in that reactive state, right? I know that is typically my first instinct, is to get into that primal mode of fight or flight. But discomfort, like I just said, actually has a purpose. And it is really important for us to face the uncomfortable, because that's where we learn, that's where we grow, that's where we can then help others. And I think that is brings us closer to a more wholeness life for ourselves. But it's not easy and it is uncomfortable. But believe it or not, we can learn how to be a little bit more comfortable with those uncomfortable things. And today we're going to be focusing more on that receptive state, facing discomfort. And in order to face discomfort, we need to build resiliency. And resilience is our ability to adapt well to challenges. I also like to think of resiliency as bouncing back, taking a bouncy ball and you bounce it to the ground. You know, that bouncy ball probably hurts a little, but it's going to come up stronger, right? And that's the whole point of resiliency. It's that ability to adapt well to those challenges, to come back stronger. It's like building a muscle. It's painful to lift that weight and work that muscle, but we know we need to do that and we need to tear that muscle in order for it to become stronger. And there is a lady by the name of Dr. Lucy Hone, excuse me. She does a TED Talk on the 3 secrets of resilient people. And I want to share that with you today. There are 3 secrets to resilient people. And the first one she talks about is resilient people acknowledge. Resilient people acknowledge that bad things happen. Okay, they don't live their lives in fear, but they just have that knowledge that, you know, in this life, bad things will happen. And they're just conscious of it. They have this understanding that suffering is normal. It is something that inevitably happens periodically in our lives. And if we are willing to face that suffering, sit with that suffering a little bit, it's going to teach us some things that we need to know. It's here for a reason. And if we just try to put a quick Band-Aid on those bad things, we're not learning. We're not learning what maybe this moment has to teach us. So again, number 1 is resilient people acknowledge. They take on that attitude of, something bad happens to me. I shouldn't be severely shocked because I'm in this life and this is a part of life. But some people fight that and they say, how could this bad thing even happen to me? Like, shouldn't I be immune to all this, right? Wouldn't that be nice if we were? But the reality is we're not. So to build that resiliency in your life, try to acknowledge, okay? It's not easy to do, but just acknowledge that bad things can happen, right? Don't get into that fear mode of always looking for that bad thing to happen, but just have it in the back of your mind that it's possible. It can happen. And this leads me to a skill that I would really encourage you to either take a picture of or write down and put it someplace in your home, whether it's your fridge or your bathroom mirror or in your journal or someplace where you're going to see it. And this is knowing your 3 Ps. And I got this idea from Harlan Cohen. He does a great talk on how to get comfortable with the uncomfortable. And it's this idea of having this tool in place for when you go through hard times. And that's knowing your people. Who are your people? Who will be there for you? Who loves you? Who supports you? Who do you feel safe with? Write down all the people that you can think of that you know you can turn to when that bad thing happens and you need a little help navigating through that. The next one is places. Write down at least 3 places where you can go. Now, I know one of my places is not a physical building, but it's going out in nature. It's going out in my backyard into the woods and just being alone with my thoughts where I can clear my mind and get some clarity and some peace so that I can better clarify in my feelings and pull myself back into, sometimes we get so caught up into our emotions that we lose sight of things, and going out into to nature for me like grounds me and helps me focus better on what I'm really looking at. It pulls me out of that emotion, right? Because feelings are just a signal that we need to look within and find out what's going on. And going out to nature for me does that to me so often. It really helps me clarify my thoughts and kind of categorize what I'm feeling, what I think is going on, and maybe what's really going on. And lastly, patience. So this is the hard one because we love to fix things. There's a problem, let's take care of it. But patience, learning to work through the discomfort, is really where you get to the root of the problem. Patience is sitting. Sometimes it might look like sitting with your feelings, examining yourself, asking yourself the whys. Why am I feeling like this? What could be going wrong here? What could be going right here? Letting that feeling kind of, we call this, and maybe you've heard this before, the name it to tame it. Sometimes being patient and figuring out what exactly I'm feeling and name that, right? So my coworker tells this story, and I hope she is okay with me sharing this story, but I think it's a perfect example, is when she was going to get her master's in education, she also had 2 children, and she had a lot going on in her life at that time. And her life always felt chaotic. And I can't remember exactly what the sign says that she put in her home, but it's pretty much like, you know, you come to my home, it's going to be chaotic, it's going to be crazy. And that gave her so much peace and comfort because she named it and tamed it. Okay, this is my life right now. All right, I'm going to accept it. And you know what? It just gave her that freedom she needed to work through that discomfort of that really challenging time in her life. And I thought that was a great idea. So write down your 3 Ps and put it someplace in your home where you can be reminded, because when we are in a crisis or bad things happen, we are going to need something like that to help us get through this. Okay, we're going to need those reminders. We're going to need to know, who are the people I go to who can love me and support me and maybe give me some wisdom here. Where are the places I can go that are going to help me? Maybe it's someone you have to pay to help you. Maybe it is grandma's home, because, you know, my grandfather was one of my places. And when he passed, that was, you know, that was really hard because he was one of my places and I didn't have him. But, you know, I was grateful that when I did have him, I was grateful for that time, but I had to kind of find, well, where else can I go then if he's not there anymore? So this might be an ever-changing thing. Maybe it's a place that you go where you need volunteers to help you. You know, you'll know, but the more you write down, the better it'll be when you're in that situation to look back at your list, kind of help it get you focused on navigating through that. Okay. The second thing that resilient people do is they focus. Resilient people are really, really good at choosing carefully where they select their attention. So they were focusing on the things they can change, not on the things you cannot change. I mean, how many times have we been reminded of that, right? We know it, but do we actually do it? I always think of that visual, and maybe you've seen it before. It's like the small circle, and then there's a bigger circle around that. And inside the small circle, it's like the things you can change. And then there's a bigger circle, and inside that, it's the things you cannot change. Well, resilient people are really good at focusing on that inner circle. So this is another challenge for you. Create a circle with a big circle and figure out what are those things in your life that you actually have control over, and really just focus on those things. We know those things are there. We're not completely ignorant to those things, but we just don't put our time and our energy into the things that we can't change. We hone in on that inner circle, and we really focus on, what is it that I can change? Okay. And the next slide, I'm going to give you another tool you can use, or a skill you can practice. And this has totally helped me in navigating my own discomforts of life. And it's called savoring. And I got this idea from, it was a podcast through Road to Resilience. It's called Three Good Things. And I encourage you to listen to that podcast because they give you a lot more great information. But this one in particular, I definitely have become very good at practicing, and it's wonderful. And savoring is deepening and prolonging positive experiences. So to help you focus, you can use this savoring technique. And you can savor in many different ways. You could savor the past, uh, reminiscing, looking through old photos, listening to your old CDs or records that you used to listen to as a child that brought you so much happiness. There's several different ways that you can reminisce the past, but it just kind of pulls you back to that time and place, that positive childhood experience maybe. And that is really something that we can do to help us kind of focus and pull us out of some of that discomfort and give us some joy and peace and all those good things that we need to help us get through those hard times. Savoring the present, enjoying a dessert by slowly enjoying it. How often okay, so I'm a mom and I have a kitchen island, and I'm so guilty of standing at the kitchen island while people are sitting at the table eating their dinner because I feel like I'm constantly having to go and get things. It's like, no, I've learned to okay, girls, let's set the table, let's sit down. Do we have everything we need? Do we have our napkins? Do we have, our drinks? Do we have the salt and pepper at the table? Instead of, just kind of winging it and throwing it together and me not really sitting down with them and enjoying it or enjoying my meal, right? We're always rush, rush, rush. Listening to music. We do this a lot in my family. We love to play the music in the house and just be present and enjoy. And in the next slide, I'll show you another savoring present moment that I just had recently. But then also the future. Set goals that excite you. Maybe there's home projects or traveling, or maybe you have something really exciting in the family that's about to happen, savoring that excitement and that anticipation of that thing coming. I know with travel, our travel, there's a lot of travel restrictions right now, that's what I'm trying to say. And have you ever thought that there might be some places in our county that you've never explored before, or hiking trails? And maybe you can make a list of those and set a goal for yourself and get excited about reaching those goals and savoring those times. There's a lot of different ways that you can choose to savor. I'm going to share with you one of my favorite savoring moments. And that is, so this is a picture from late summer. This is my grandparents' farmland, and it's been in my family for generations. And my parents live on that land. My grandmother still lives on it. I have aunts and uncles. So I still have a lot of family that live on this land. And every summer, we camp up on the hilltop. And my grandfather's ashes are actually spread just below where the girls are standing on a rock. And our family, we either say it's our thinking rock or our prayer rock, but they're standing on that rock. And we were camping that evening up there. And this was such a savoring moment for us because we were just taking in this view, taking in this land that my family has farmed for generations. And those are savoring moments, right? So that's one of my favorite savoring moments that I had this summer with my family. Okay, so back to the 3 secrets of resilient people. The third one that Lucy Hone shares with us is that they ask themselves. Resilient people ask themselves, they check in with themselves, right? Is what I am doing helping me or harming me? Is what I am thinking helping me or harming me? What this does is this will help you take control over the situation. So the really cool thing about our minds and neuroplasticity and this idea that we can change our thinking gives us a lot of hope. What I'm thinking now, is it helping me or harming me? If it's harming me, I have the ability to change that. And I think that's fantastic, because how often do we fall into that, well, that thought popped into my head, I must have to own it then. No, you don't. You need to challenge yourself and say, is this truly serving me or not? Is this helpful or is this harmful? So really checking in with yourself and realizing that you do have the ability to change your thinking patterns. Yes, it's work, but you can do it. If you put your mind to it, you can do it. So I just want to stop here for a second and do a little bit of review for you. So we talk about discomfort and how we believe this lie that we always have to maintain a state of happiness, right? Like that's the point of life. But then we neglect the fact that discomfort actually can give us a gift too, if we're willing to face it. And that there are some tools that we can use to help us through those difficult times. And those are recognizing how we can become more resilient, right? We can acknowledge that bad things happen. We can focus on the things that we actually do have control over. What are those things in your life that you have control over, right? Put your energy there. 3, ask yourself, check in with yourself. Is what I'm doing, is what I'm thinking actually helping me or harming me? And if it is harming me, what do I need to do to change that? Also, who are your 3 Ps? Okay, who are your people? Where are your places? And how can I practice patience in my life? What does that look like to you? Also, sorry, that's my dog barking. Also, savoring, okay? Every day, what can I just slow down and take the moment to savor in? I said you can do that. Savoring the past, savoring the present, and savoring the future. These will all help us navigate this discomforts of life. And there's a lot right now. There's a lot we're all dealing with. Our routines are different. The state of the world looks different. There's a lot of unknowns. We do not have clear leaders right now, right? We're all just trying to figure out how to create new healthy brain patterns, and what does that even look like, and how do we do it? We're all asking ourselves this, and I'm hoping that this helps you navigate a little bit smoother and can help you get to that light at the end of the tunnel. I love quotes, and this one challenged me, and so I thought, you know, I would really like to put this on here and just give some people some food for thought. And this quote is from Rumi, and it says, "Try not to resist the changes that come your way. Instead, let life live through you. And do not worry that your life is turning upside down. How do you know that the side you are used to is better than the one to come?" Just something to think about. I know it gave me a lot to think about. Okay. Now, at this point, I want to ask you if you could either write down these 3 questions or take a screenshot. These 3 questions really help us grow at ADAC. Presenting this way is very new to us, just like you guys are dealing with very new things in your workspace as well. And we want to serve our community the best we can. So if you could please email me at jsmith@stny.twcbc.com and answer these 3 questions, I then can give you a certificate for your own professional development. It would be greatly appreciated. I'll just give you a second if you need to either take a picture or write these down. Okay. And lastly, these are some of the sources that I used to create this presentation. We talked about Lucy Hone and her 3 Secrets of Resilient People. I got that idea of the 3 Ps from Harlan Cohen, and also a great podcast, Road to Resilient, 3 Good Things. We talked about savoring, and they have some even more good ideas in there as well. I just pulled that one from there for this presentation. I hope that you leave here feeling like you have some really good tools that you can apply to your life as you are on this journey in these crazy times. So thank you so much for joining me. And I will shut this down.